Hi, I'm Lauren from LSP Actions, and let's talk applying the texture in Photoshop. So after downloading a texture from the LSP Actions website or using the LSP Masters Glade, you can drag and drop this over your image in Photoshop. If you own any of the full LSP texture packs, you'll notice there's also a texture applicator included in the full paid pack. So if you have that, you can go ahead and use that. And we're talking about applying this texture manually. So get it to cover your image and hit enter. You can also use File Place Embedded to locate the texture if you don't want to drag and drop. So Place Embedded, search for it on the computer and hit Place. Next up, on the Blend mode in your Layers panel, if you can't see your Layers panel, come to Window and hit Layers. In the Blend mode, where it says Normal, you can bring this down and either choose Overlay or Soft Light. For this one, I'm going to choose Soft Light. If your image is really dark, you could choose the Screen Blend mode, but you might want to bring the opacity down. If your image is very bright, you might want to choose the Multiply Blend mode, but again, bring the opacity down for those ones. But for normal images with a normal tonal range, a mid kind of range, soft light and opacity are going to be the ones, overlay, are going to be the ones you want to use. But next up, we want to remove the texture from our subject. You can add a layer mask down here, the little rectangle with the circle, adds a layer mask, a bit like a lottery scratch card. So you can grab a brush, set to black, medium flow, and you can start to paint this away from your subject. If you're using Photoshop Creative Cloud, you can actually go select subject, and Photoshop's going to make quite an accurate subject selection for you. Oh, make sure you clicked on your subject layer. Rookie mistake by me there. So select subject, make sure you're clicked on your subject layer to do this. Beautiful shot here by Anna Brandt. Back onto the texture, make sure you're on the mask. And now, because just the subject's selected, you can just paint over and it's only going to use the masking on the selected area. I need to make the brush a little bit bigger. So you can see here we've taken the texture off our subject only. Another thing you might want to do is change the perspective of the texture. Again, if you've got the actions, they do all of this for you. You can get those over on the LSP Actions website. Just noticed here the subject selection is a little bit funny around the hand. So at this point, you just go on the mask. You can grab a brush. Remember, white means show, black means hide. The great thing about textures is as well as generally around the hair, you can be a little bit more easygoing. You see I'm just painting this on. There is a little bit of edging going on there, so I'm going to switch to black. And just use the black brush to just hone this in a little bit. Really does depend on your image as to how well Photoshop makes a subject selection and how well the texture blends and matches with the background. Either way, I do recommend zooming in if you're trying to go for a very accurate cutout like this one here. Zooming in just to make sure. You can see I'm switching between a black and a white brush by holding down X on the computer keyboard. Just to switch. So once you have your selection, I'm just coming in here. I'm glad we've chosen this image actually because it allows me to show you some different techniques here. The great thing about a layer mask rather than using a raise is that you can use black or white to bring it in or make it hidden. Because the texture is all still here. We're just using the mask to mask it away from certain areas. So to add perspective, you click the little link between the layer and the mask. That means it's unlinked now. You can grab your marquee tool to make a selection up until the natural floor and wall join. At this point, you're going to want to right click the layer and choose rasterize. Takes it away from being a smart object. Make sure you're on the layer and not the mask. And then come up to edit, transform, and hit perspective. Now we can drag out the sides just of the floor. Ooh, let's drag it out quite a bit. Just add that perspective in there so you can see now we have this kind of natural perspective. It works a lot better than a flat texture being over the top. Another thing you can do with textures is add a little bit of colour grading. So we're going to right click and duplicate our texture layer. Come up to filter, blur and choose average. We're going to delete the layer mask, add a brand new one, Control or Command I, and that inverts it to black. So now you can grab your brush and you can paint on this, this average texture over the top. Make sure it's still set to soft light. And what this will allow you to do is allow you to colour grade your whole image a little bit more in line with the texture. You see there? We're just adding that colour grading, and it just allows us to really blend our subject and our texture together. So let's go ahead and add a texture to another image here. How about this one? So let's try File Place Embedded for this. So File Place Embedded. Here we have the LSP Christmas 2023. So we're going to grab the texture and resize to fit the whole image. And again, it doesn't, if you're using the actions, everything will be done for you, the blending mode, but we're doing manually here. So we're going to come up where it says normal, change the mode to soft light or overlay. Overlay is a lot more dramatic, soft light is gentle. Let's go for dramatic for this one. We can right click rasterize. Let's do the perspective. So edit, transform, or you can right click perspective, and we're just going to drag the perspective out only of that area that we selected. So we've added a floor perspective there, can you see? This looks really cool, like a painting actually, so you know, if you want to get very creative you can leave it like this, but what we're going to do is we're going to still do the subject selection, or add the mask and subject mask manually. And we can just add that selection, invert it onto our texture. Now you notice the texture on overlay is very green in the background, which gives it that amazing kind of painterly feel. Just going to grab this brush here and just do a little bit of gentle masking around, just to kind of sort any kind of harsh areas out there and bed our subject in. Let's duplicate the layer and let's do our filter blur average again. Delete the layer mask, add a new one, Control or Command I to invert, and this will now allow you to paint some colour grading onto your subject if you want to go for that kind of real fine art feel for textures. And at any point you can select these, you can change the opacity, you can change the blend mode, you know, really to kind of get that texture working for your image. Let's add one more. These definitely work better for studio, but you can use them for outdoor as well, and they will create a very interesting effect on your outdoor portraits. So select subject. Notice at the moment I haven't changed the blend mode. I'm showing you just a few different ways. It doesn't really matter on the order that you do these things. So you see when it's selected subject it hasn't selected the ladder, but that's okay. I'm going to change the blend mode to soft light and just use a black brush just to lightly dab the texture off any areas, blending it in. And again I'm going to do the colour grading, so blur average, delete the layer mask, bring it inverted to black, and we can paint this on with a white brush. It just allows you to be a little bit more creative with your texture. And there we go, before and after. That's using the LSP Masters Glade texture, available as part of the 2023 Christmas collection. The downloads are free giveaways on the LSP Actions website. This mode can apply for most textures, LSP or not. If you do own the full LSP texture packs, such as Camden, Artisan, Boutique, the Florals, you do get actions with them to help you apply these textures to your images. You can see the same texture used with very, very different results here. There's lots of things you can do with just one texture overlay and a few clicks in Photoshop. So I hope that helped. Can't wait to see what you do. Please tag me in the LSP Actions group because I'd love to see. I'm Lauren. Thanks for watching.